Hi everybody, I'm Akasha and welcome to my channel. And if you are subscribed, welcome back and thank you so much. I appreciate it. So jumping right in there, as I talk to you all, this video is actually going to be my final video in my Healing Mother Issues series. I've finally been given the go to move forward. I'm so excited. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm never going to cover healing mother issues. It's just that it's going to be based off what you all give me. If y'all have questions, if you all have different situations that you all feel is just undoable, or just different scenarios that you all want to ask me about, feel free to ask and I might do a video on that. But in general, we're going to be moving forward. So anyways, getting back on the subject, healing mother issues. This video is specifically about how to finally release and forgive. And I'm going to share what worked for me. And hopefully it can help you. So in one of my previous videos, there were several comments that talked about each party being accountable for their own errors when it comes to healing mother issues. Now, these points are not only valid, but also they're very important. Point blank, period. However, I do want to make sure we're clear that being able to forgive so that you can heal should be based on you and not whether they decide to be accountable for their own actions. I know, right? When we base forgiveness and healing on whether or not the other party takes accountability, if they choose not to, it can stall your healing process. Now, this does not by any means mean that you just be somebody's doormat and let's let them treat you or do you any kind of way. No, that doesn't mean that. We don't do that here. Because you can still remove yourself from somebody. You can still remove yourself from a situation so that you can protect yourself if need be. But that doesn't have to stop you from healing and forgiving, if that makes sense. All right. Along with that, we must take into consideration people who, for whatever reason, they do not have their mothers around. And that is whether it's physically, mentally, or emotionally. And in many of these cases, a person may not ever be able to witness their mother taking accountability for her actions. And if they're waiting or needing that, they can find themselves stuck in a place where they're never quite healed. Now, this video is specifically for these type of circumstances. And I personally call these motherless children or a motherless child. My heart definitely goes out to the orphans. Now, whether you lost your mother as a child or as an adult, the steps I'm going to list may help ease the pain so that you can have some form of healing, especially if she passed and you all wasn't on very good terms. This could really help. Now, my next group would be those children who did not have that connection with their mother. And what do I mean by that connection? Normally, when a mother has a child, there is literally a chemical connection formed between her and her child that helps solidify their bond. Now, this type of connection only happens between a mother and child, but there are cases where this does not happen, which makes it very difficult for the mother to bond with her child. Now, this is what happened between me and my mother. And she even had other children where she had that connection, but for some reason with me it just was not there. Now, here recently we put our heads together, me and my mother, and we found out that PTSD can cause this disconnect along with chemical imbalances in the body. Now, chemical imbalances can be something that occurs naturally through genetics, or it can be induced by prescribed medications. It could be a history of alcohol or drug abuse. It can be environmental influences, or a history, like if she has a history of physical, emotional, or mental abuse. Those are all different factors that can trigger this imbalance. Now, the next group are those mothers who just don't care about their child. They don't want anything to do with them. They are just too combative or emotionally immature or hurt to work on the relationship. Or they just not interested in doing anything toward having a healthy relationship, much less healing their relationship. So you as the child, you may have tried many times to work on the relationship without any budging on her end. And basically you've reached a point where it's just not worth your mental health and your emotional health to keep trying. So I've experienced all of these at some time or another with my mother, outside being an orphan. I found myself trying to prove to her that I was worthy of being loved and being treated a certain way, because I still had in my mind what I felt the relationship should be, when in reality she had told me and she showed me what it was from the beginning. And I was thinking that I could change that. And the more I tried to fight for our relationship and help her to reason with me and be the mother that I felt she was supposed to be to me, the more I felt like I was fighting against a huge windstorm, getting nowhere but deeper into my feelings. And before long, I had created an enormous storm that I could not see my way out of. And in the midst of this, I continued drawing these platonic relationships with these older women that mimicked my relationship with my mother. And then I kept drawing romantic relationships with men who treated me mentally and emotionally like I was being treated by my mother. So yeah, I was just, it was a whole tornado of just mess. And after hitting wall after wall and falling many times, finally I stopped. I just stopped everything. I just stopped. It was like I was in the eye of the storm. But I took time. I stopped and took some time to do some deep self-reflection. I finally came to the realization that I was the common denominator in all of those relationships, including my mother. I came to a very harsh, painful, but liberating realization. It was that I was the one who neglected me first. I stopped showing myself love and I forgot how to nourish my soul. And then I finally realized that I was the problem. But I was also the key. It all went back to my childhood and my inner child. And as a child, and I gotta also at this point, everything happens for a reason. Now, yeah, you're probably thinking, well, she could have been a better mother, so I wouldn't have had to do this. But if you hadn't went through everything that you went through, would you have still developed the skills, the characteristics, the character that you've come to have? It's like I've formed a huge reservoir of experience and wisdom, if that makes sense. But anyways, it all went back to my childhood and my inner child. And as a child, just telling you a little bit about me, as a child, I had many different talents. Like I love to teach others. I love to write. I like to write short stories. I like to write scripts and plays. And then I would organize them. And then I would organize my siblings and have them to act it out. We would all act it out. And I would make clothes. I would make these tiny little inventions and like conduct these little science experiments. Because I had I still do, a massive curiosity. And like I would take things apart and then put them back together. And plus I could draw. Like I would isolate myself from as early as I could remember. I would isolate myself in my room, you know, in my own little corner, in my own little chair. I could be whatever I wanted to be. Cinderella. But yes, I really could. And it was just beautiful. Like, and even to this day, I can't ever be bored. That's like impossible. I got way too much, way too much to go to or to do in my mind. So yeah. However, I fed my soul and it gave me peace and happiness. But as life kept happening, I started focusing more on the love that I wasn't receiving, because I started noticing that, hey, I wasn't receiving the same love. I wasn't getting the same treatment, or I was getting treatment that was not normal. And I started focusing more on that. And then I was focusing more on learning how to survive and protect myself and keep myself safe due to all the outside circumstances that I was faced with. So I started to lose myself piece by piece until I grown into something that I didn't really know anymore, let alone loved or nourished. So it's not that when I say I forgot myself or I lost myself, it doesn't mean like, oh, you're bad, you didn't do that. No, life happens. And sometimes we just do the best that we can so that we can move forward. And remember that, because sometimes that's the same situation that your mother's going through, because she might have a whole hailstorm going on and don't even know the first step to take. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do in my situations. I didn't know how to protect. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. I had to figure it out through trial and error. Is how I figured it out. But finally I did. So anyways, getting back to the point. All right. So regarding my mother, I had to step back and I had to release control of what I felt our relationship should be. I had to let go of all my pain, my anger, my bitterness, my resentment, my self-pity. And I had to surrender it all to the universe. And I just stopped. I just stopped chasing my storm. I stopped chasing my mother. I just stopped. No relationships, no nothing. No dating. No new friends. No. I just, I need to figure this out. Instead of giving in to all those emotions that were surrounding me and letting them consume me, I decided to free them along with my expectations of a relationship. And you know what? Actually, now that I think about it, I think they may have. And I think that is what got me to the point to where I stopped. They almost did. They almost did. Just keeping it all the way real. They almost did consume me. I don't know. I can't tell you all 100% that it didn't. Because maybe that's what set me down on my behind. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, I came to a point to where I had to let that go. I had to release it. I decided to free them along with my expectations of a relationship with my mother. I let them all go. I let it all go. This is considered a symbolic death. So in that moment, I decided that I was going to be the one to give myself that love that I desired. I learned that I had to step up and show myself the love that I sought outside of me. I'm always looking outside of me. I had to nurture myself from within. I had to find it from within. I had to nurture myself by doing those things that make my heart sing. I had to nurture myself by doing those things that make my heart sing, like when I was a child, and to be there for my inner child, and also for myself in the present first. And I had to build that relationship back up with myself. So yes, I had a whole little loving affair, I guess you can call it, with myself. And it was beautiful. And I had to become not only my best friend, but also my mother. I had to be that for myself. And because of this, I came back stronger and even more resilient, wiser and more empathetic and even more compassionate. This was my symbolic rebirth. So finally, listen, I go through these all the time. I'm a Scorpio. It's kind of our thing. Let me tell you about it. It's a beast, but you can do it. And finally, I was free from that storm. And I've been rising continuously ever since then. So yeah. And you know what? Later, my mother came to me wanting to heal and rebuild our relationship. And at that time, I had already forgiven her and healed. Now it was just her healing and forgiving herself. I personally made my own choice to help guide her as much as I could through her own healing. And you know, our relationship has turned into something even better and stronger than I ever imagined. Like, based on what we've come from and what we've been through, it was nothing short of a miracle. So all this was basically centered around forgiving and releasing. And to help with this releasing process, there are 5 different steps that I took that may help you in your situation. And I'll explain each one as we move forward. So number 1, you're going to write a release letter for your mother. Number 2, you're going to write a release letter for yourself. And then number 3, you're going to write a love letter to your inner child. And then number 4, you're going to actually do the whole releasing process. And then number 5, you're going to fill that void. Because once you release something, there's going to be an empty spot from where you released it. So you want to fill it back up with something instead of it just filling itself back up. Okay? I learned that the hard way. So let me help you out with that. All right. So number 1, you write a release letter to your mother. Now this letter is only for your eyes. Only your eyes will see this letter. And in this letter, you need to be raw. You need to be unapologetic, honest, and just release everything you want to say, how you feel onto this piece of paper. I mean, go in. Let her have it on this piece of paper. Okay? Now, like any pain, any anger, any resentment, bitterness, whatever you're feeling, put it all down on this piece of paper. Okay? And the things that she did, it could be things that she did do, things that she didn't do. Don't be afraid to let the tears come, because oftentimes, from when I've told people this before, so don't be afraid to let the tears come. If they come, let them come, release them, and let them fall on that piece of paper, on your letter. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to scream, scream. Shout it out. Do whatever you need to do while you're writing your letter. Have a pillow handy just in case you really got to get in there. You know what I mean? Okay, pour it all into it. And once you've got it all out, ball it up into a slightly loose ball, like this. Ball it up like that. You don't want it too tight. So yeah, like that. So you ball it up, put that to the side, move on to the next letter. Now, you're going to write a letter of release to yourself. So once again, this is going to be a letter that only your eyes see, and you're going to need to be completely honest with yourself. Write down the charges against yourself. Anything that you know you did that you aren't too proud of, especially dealing with this situation, write it all down. Anything that you did not do for yourself, whether it's not standing up for yourself, not nurturing yourself, not being there for yourself, not loving yourself, not loving your inner child, or not following your dreams, chasing after others who didn't deserve your love, or not pursuing your dreams, or not showing up for yourself. So basically, it's all of your perceived screw-ups toward yourself and possibly even your mother. You know, if you know you behaved in a way that you know wasn't right, go on and put that down in there, okay? And let me tell you, this is not an apology. You just putting the raw truth down on there. Tell it how it is, okay? Put it on there, okay? And don't be surprised if you start crying up on this, tearing up on this, and, you know, having to go through the same process. And if it does, once again, let those tears hit that paper. It needs to be part of it, okay? So let them flow. And once you've gotten it all out, ball it into a loose little ball, like so. Okay. Now, next, number 3, you're going to write a letter to your inner child. And this is going to be a love letter. You're going to tell your inner child what you wish you were told by your mother. You are going to be their mother now. Let him or her know you are going to be their mother now. Okay? Let your inner child know that you will be there for them. Through thick and thin, you will show up for them with that true unconditional love. Anything that you need to say to your inner child, put it on there. And once again, any tears that come, let them flow onto the paper. Now this, do not ball up. You'll keep this letter. Okay? Now, number 4, the release. Now, once you have all your letters, you're going to have the 2 balled up pieces of paper. You're going to have 2. Imagine there's another one. All right. You're going to have 2 of these, and then you're going to have 1 letter. Okay? So, you get a fireproof dish. Please make sure it's fireproof and go somewhere where you can safely burn paper. Okay? And you're going to start with your mother's release letter. Make sure during actually this whole entire process, I should have said this at the beginning, make sure you're in a place where you can be alone, where you can really focus on what you're doing. You need your mind when you're focusing on this, okay? With your mother's release letter. I know this might sound a little crazy, but you want to seal the letter. Seal the letter with love. And you can do this energetically or with a kiss. Now, I know some people might be like, I don't want nothing to do with her. I get it. I've been there too. But you can still have love for her, even if it's just for her being that vortex that you were able to come through. Because if you did not have that womb, you would not be here. So even if you're loving her just for being that, just a little love. And I say to put a little love on it because love is strong, love is powerful, and it can leave ways for miracles to happen that's beyond your reasoning or beyond your mind. So after you do all that, light it up. Now, while it's burning, you are forgiving and releasing your expectations of how you think your relationship should be. You are forgiving and releasing all of those negative emotions attached to your relationship with her. You're forgiving and releasing your mother from all the things she did or didn't do. And you are forgiving and releasing her. Watch it burn all the way down. While it's burning, take a few deep, slow breaths from your diaphragm and release them slowly. You can say Ashe or so be it. And so it is. Whatever you want to do to end that one. Next, you're going to grab the letter release for yourself. You're going to seal this ball with love too. Also knowing that the person that you are releasing was there to get you through a season of your life and has now served their purpose. And after that, light that letter up. And while it's burning, you are forgiving and releasing all those negative emotions attached to your relationship with your mother. You are forgiving and releasing yourself from all the things you did or didn't do for yourself and your inner child. And you're forgiving and releasing that version of yourself. Watch it burn all the way down. While it's burning, take a few deep, slow breaths from your diaphragm and then release them slowly. Now you can let them blow in the wind. You can scatter them outside. You can do however you feel. Now the next part, which is very important, okay? This is why I had to do it twice. Because I didn't do this step the first time. You need to feel the void. Okay, because you got to think about it. If this is you right here and you done pulled something out trying to release it, guess what? That void still needs to be filled. Or guess what? It gets filled on its own without your consciousness. So it just draws in different things. Okay, we don't want to do that. We want to be intentional with what is filled with our void. So that's where your letter to your inner child comes in at. So now that you've released that, go grab your letter and read that. Read it out loud to yourself and read it out loud to your inner child. And do your best to hold true to what you said. Okay? And then what I like to do is just put it somewhere where I know where it is. And it'll serve as a reminder to yourself. Okay? So yeah, and that's it, folks. No more pushing, no more trying. Just be. I hope this helps. Okay? So, like I said, this is my last official video. I still do follow-ups on mother situations and scenarios, but in general, I'm done. I hope y'all ready to ride. Peace.